Falsely accused of cheating by my wife, she took my kids, and I lost my job. I spent years rebuilding my life, and when she found out I became rich, she tried to sue me for alimony. So, I turned the tables in the most unexpected way. 34M. Right after graduation, I landed a job at this small tech startup that was trying to build cloud security software. Not going to give too many details because I don't want to dox myself, but let's just say it was one of those typical 5 guys in a WeWork type startups. The pay wasn't great at first, like $65,000 a year in a pretty expensive city, but they offered stock options, more on that later, and I figured it was worth the gamble. Plus, the founders seemed like they actually knew what they were doing. Unlike some of the other startups I interviewed with that were basically just burning through VC money. This is where I met Amy, not her real name obviously. It was the most cliché meet cute ever. I was at this local coffee shop near our office, running on like 2 hours of sleep, because we had a big deployment the night before, and totally knocked my coffee all over her MacBook. I felt like such an idiot, but she was surprisingly cool about it. Ended up buying her a new one, maxed out my credit card, but worth it, LOL. And somehow that turned into getting drinks, which turned into dating. Amy was working as a dental hygienist at the time, super smart, funny, definitely out of my league looks-wise. We just clicked, you know. She actually seemed interested when I rambled about coding stuff. And I loved hearing her absolutely wild stories about nightmare patients at the dental office. We got married after 2 years of dating, nothing fancy, just a small ceremony in her parents' backyard. We used most of our savings to put a down payment on a small starter home in the suburbs. The commute sucked, like 45 minutes each way, but the schools were good, and we were thinking ahead. Kids came along pretty quick after that. Lily was born in 2016, and Max followed in 2019. Not going to lie, those first few years were rough, trying to balance a startup job with midnight feedings and diaper changes. There were days I literally forgot if I'd showered or not, but Amy was amazing with the kids. She cut back to part-time at the dental office so she could be home more, and we made it work. The startup was growing slowly but steadily. We went from 5 guys in a WeWork to about 50 people in a real office. I got promoted to lead developer, then engineering manager. The stock options kept vesting. I had about 200,000 shares at 50 cents each. Honestly thought they'd probably end up worthless like most startup stock, but figured I'd hold on to them just in case. We had a pretty good life going. Nice neighborhood, decent schools, family vacations to Disney every other year, nothing crazy expensive, but the kids loved it. Had cool neighbors too, lots of young families, block parties in the summer, that whole suburban dream thing. Amy made friends with all the other moms. I'd grab beers with some of the dads while our kids had playdates. Normal, boring, happy life. Then Mike and Jessica moved in next door in 2021. Mike was this wannabe fitness influencer type, you know, the kind always posting workout videos on Instagram. Had his garage set up like a CrossFit gym. Super friendly at first, always offering to help with house projects and stuff. Jessica worked long hours at some law firm in the city, so Mike was home a lot during the day, working on his brand, or whatever. Looking back now, I can see all the red flags. But when you're working 50 to 60-hour weeks trying to keep a startup alive through COVID, plus dealing with 2 young kids, you miss things. Or maybe you see them but don't want to believe it. Amy started working out at Mike's garage gym, said she wanted to get in shape after having the kids. Started wearing makeup to go out, who does that? Would come back all giggly and energized. I actually thought it was good at first, she seemed happier, had more energy. God, I was stupid. So Mike, in his CrossFit obsession next door. At first, it was just little things, you know, like I'd come home from work and he'd be helping Amy move furniture, or fixing something in our backyard, always shirtless, BTW, because apparently shirts aren't a thing when you have abs. I was working crazy hours at the startup because we were trying to close this huge deal with a major tech company, can't name names, but think FANG level. Had a ton of security features to build, and deadlines were insane. Some weeks I was pulling 14-hour days, basically only saw the kids on weekends. Amy seemed understanding at first, but then the comments started. Mike says you should make time for family. Mike thinks it's important to have work-life balance. You know, Mike manages to run his business and stay in shape. Like, cool story, Amy. But Mike's business is posting gym selfies on Instagram, while my job actually pays our mortgage. Then she started getting really into fitness, and when I say really into it, I mean obsessed. Suddenly our grocery bill doubled because everything had to be organic and grass-fed. Started buying all these fancy supplements that Mike recommended. Our kitchen looked like a GNC threw up in it. The workout schedule got weird too. Used to be like 3 times a week at normal times, then it was every day, always when I was at work, or with the kids. She'd come back all flushed and happy, hair wet from showering at the gym. Started wearing makeup to work out, who the F does that? Bought all this expensive Lululemon stuff, because apparently her old Target leggings weren't good enough anymore. But the really weird stuff started with her phone. Amy was never really a tech person before, like she'd leave her phone in random places and not care. Suddenly she's glued to it 24/7, always texting, always with the screen tilted away from me. Got a new password and wouldn't tell me what it was. We used to know each other's passwords, not because we snooped, but just in case of emergencies with the kids. The worst part. She started getting super aggressive about everything. Like I'd ask what she wanted for dinner and she'd snap at me, saying I never help with meal planning. Or I'd try to talk about my day at work, and she'd roll her eyes and say not everything is about your precious startup. Real Jekyll and Hyde stuff. One day I was playing with Max in the backyard and saw Mike spotting Amy during some kind of workout through their garage window. Dude was literally pressed up against her, helping with her form, or whatever. Max waves and goes, "Mommy and Mike are best friends." "Yeah, buddy, I bet they are." I tried talking to her about it, told her I was feeling weird about how much time she was spending over there. Big mistake. She absolutely flipped out, started screaming about how I was controlling and jealous, how I was trying to stop her from having friends, how I was never home anyway, so why did I care? Then she started picking fights about money. The startup wasn't paying great, we were still in growth phase, but we were comfortable. Suddenly nothing was enough. She wanted to renovate the kitchen, needed a new car, wanted to send Lily to some fancy private school. When I explained about startup salary versus stock options, she'd get this look like I was speaking alien. Looking back, I should have seen what was coming.